Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Streaming services are losing a lot of revenue. People are not spending as much money as they used to on streaming services, but they're relatively new. I mean, cable, anyone who still has cable is spending more and more money on cable. But for streaming services, people are starting to spend a lot less. From the Wrap, and this is just within the last year. Streaming fatigue? Americans spend 23% less on streaming services in 2024, according to a study. The average U.S. citizen spent $42 per month on streaming services in 2024, down from $55 a month a year ago. And there are multiple reasons for this. Some of them good reasons, some of them not so good reasons. But if the whole purpose was to get subscriptions and reorient all of these media companies to direct to consumer, what they don't want to see is an average that's going down on a per user basis. 9 Meters lays it out a little bit from 9meters.com. Here's why they say the change is going down, and they leave out a couple of key reasons. But here's what they have to say. Several things explain the shift. Streaming fatigue. People feel overwhelmed by the many streaming options. It's hard to keep up with new shows and movies on different platforms. Costs of living. With prices going up on many things, people are cutting back on extra costs like streaming. Okay. Ad-supported options, and that is a big part of this. Many services now offer cheaper plans with ads. This lets people save money while still watching their favorite shows. Subscription choices. People are choosing fewer subscriptions. They pick only the services that they use the most. But you know what they're leaving out? They're leaving out the severe quality problem. This is not like a minor thing. This is a severe thing. If you have the opportunity to program not just a channel, but an entire streaming service, you would think you'd produce things that people would be dying to see. That's not going on. This is from Breitbart. Only 16% of Americans say Disney content is better than it was in the past. And let's say this, Disney did have Walt Disney, and that was a big deal. He was a creative genius, and he knew how to put out something that would last forever, timeless classics. But Disney does have resources that Walt Disney never had any kind of access to. This is more than 100 times than what Walt Disney did. Walt Disney could not dream of putting out a $200 million movie, not just even one of them, and having that be a flop and having it not be a big deal. In the early days, if they put out something that did not work, it could have killed the company, and they did routinely risk the company just to put out timeless classics. They're not doing that anymore. But there's another major issue. From Breitbart, pirate streaming sites cost Hollywood $30 billion annually. Because why are you going to pay for it if you can get it cheaper through a pirate site? Even though those pirate sites, some of those guys actually have ads on their sites, and they're getting away with it. From Bloomberg, streaming pirates are Hollywood's new villains. Illegal subscription services that steal films or TV shows bring in $2 billion a year in ads and subscriber fees. And in addition to the pirates, there are streaming services that are free, that are just advertising supported. And they don't have huge content budgets where they need to spend billions of dollars a year to produce content. They're leveraging existing popular content. If what Hollywood was producing was so good, if the new shows were so good, the movies were so good, people wouldn't go anywhere near older shows. But they do. Because there's tremendous value in a Star Trek channel and tremendous value in a Baywatch channel. I came across a Baywatch channel on one of my TVs the other day, and I was like, how do you have a Baywatch channel? They have every kind of channel now. It doesn't really matter. It's advertising supported, and as long as it captures your attention, they're going to make some money. How is Disney going to compete with that? How is even Netflix going to compete with that? From their installed user base, the people they have subscribing every month. But the amount of money that subscribers are going to spend every month looks like it's going to continue to go down and down and down, because how else are you going to compete with the free services? Let's get into the quality issue. From Breitbart, only 16% of Americans say Disney content is better than it was in the past. And when you do a survey, about 20% of the people don't even understand the question or don't know how you're supposed to answer it. I know that's hard to believe. But either way, 16% is not a lot of people. The days when the Walt Disney Company churned out instant classics beloved by successive generations appear to be squarely behind it, with only 16% of Americans saying Disney content is better today than it was in the past, and nearly half saying it's worse. A new Rasmussen poll asked participants if entertainment from Disney is better or worse than they remember from the past. Just 16% said it was better, while a full 47% said it was worse, a public relations disaster for Disney. 29% said Disney entertainment has improved, while 8% were unsure. A full 65% of Republicans believe Disney entertainment has gotten worse, according to the poll. The results point to a profound image crisis for Disney. With flops mounting up both at the box office and on streaming media, the Disney brand no longer signals quality for many American households that have been alienated by the studio's aggressive promotion of woke identity politics, especially transgenderism, which the studio's been promoting in its entertainment aimed at children. They have had successes with Deadpool and Wolverine, big moneymaker, successes with Moana 2, and their Pixar division Inside Out 2, and they're going to have some more successes. But there isn't an understanding like there used to be that anything Disney does is top shelf, guaranteed classic, guaranteed moneymaker. They threw that all away over the last few years. In 2024, Disney's biggest flop was its Star Wars spin-off streaming service, The Acolyte, which was canceled after just one season. I don't even know why they bother making seasons of these shows anymore. In another recent article, The Acolyte has actually been outdone for poor quality. Skeleton Crew is Disney's biggest Star Wars streaming failure ever. And that's according to Nielsen ratings, actual ratings of whether or not people are watching and interested in the show. Showrunner for The Acolyte, Leslie Headland, didn't help matters when she publicly promoted this series as the gayest Star Wars ever, only to backtrack somewhat following an intense publicity backlash. In 2023, Disney racked up numerous box office duds, including The Marvels, Indiana Jones 5, The Little Mermaid live-action remake, Wish, and the latest Ant-Man sequel. Other recent flops include Strange World, Haunted Mansion, A Haunting in Venice, and Pixar's Elemental. Shockingly, Elemental wound up doing better than people thought it was going to do, but still, it was not anywhere near the legend, the history, the brand that they created for Pixar, that any Pixar movie they put out would really be an instant classic and would go into a library of films that you would see again and again and again, because Pixar was a flawless brand. But you've got to actually put out several movies under an existing brand like Pixar and prove that one after another, yeah, they're incredible movies, they do really well, people really enjoy them, the critics enjoy them. It's going to take a while for them to build that back if they're dedicated enough and if they have enough talent left to get that reputation back. The recently released Mufasa, a live-action prequel to The Lion King, has underperformed at the box office and received scathing reviews from critics. And no matter what Hollywood does, if they get back to that high quality, how are they going to deal with streaming pirates? From Bloomberg, streaming pirates are Hollywood's new villains. Ever since taking on Netflix at its own game, old Hollywood has struggled to turn a profit in streaming, with the likes of Disney Plus, Peacock, and Paramount Plus losing billions of dollars each year, sparking concerns on Wall Street that the services will never be as profitable as cable once was. But the age of streaming has been a boon for some unintended winners, pirates that use software to rip a film or television show in seconds from legitimate online platforms and host the titles on their own, illegitimate services which rake in about $2 billion annually from ads and subscriptions. With no video production costs, illicit streaming sites such as myflixer.to and projectfreetv.space have achieved profit margins approaching 90%, according to the Motion Picture Association, a trade group representing Hollywood studios that's working to crack down on the thousands of illegal platforms that have cropped up in recent years. Initially, the rise of legitimate online businesses such as Netflix actually helped curb digital piracy, which had largely been based on file uploads. But now, piracy involving illegal streaming services as well as file sharing costs the U.S. economy about $30 billion a year in lost revenue and some 250,000 jobs, estimates the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Global Innovation Policy Center. The global impact is about $71 billion annually. In the U.S., which counts almost 130 subscription piracy sites, The MPA estimates that the top three combined have about 2 million users paying $5 to $10 per month for films, TV shows, and live sports. Analysts say the user number could soar as the cost of subscriptions from legitimate companies such as Walt Disney approach $20 per month as they seek to bolster the finances of their streaming platforms. Quote, some of these pirate websites have gotten more daily visits than some of the top 10 legitimate sites, says Karen Temple, the MPA's general counsel. She goes on to say, quote, that really shows how prolific they are. Last year, Philadelphian Bill Omar Carrasquillo, who broadcast his lavish lifestyle to about 800,000 followers on YouTube, and who the FBI said ran one of the most brazen and successful TV piracy schemes ever prosecuted by federal officials, was ordered to forfeit $30 million worth of assets, including a dozen properties, a Lamborghini, and $6 million in cash. That's a lot of cash. At its peak, Gears TV had 100,000 subscribers and brought in about $1.5 million in monthly sales. In March 2023, Carrasquillo was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison. Some pirate sites are invitation-only platforms that can gain traction on the dark web, but most are legitimate-looking streaming websites searchable on Google and advertised on Facebook and TikTok. They're funded by ads as well as subscriptions and offer a buffet of film, TV, and live sports that's wider in variety than legitimate outfits because they usually steal content from multiple services. In some cases, viewers mistake the platforms for legitimate streaming services because of how slick the sites look. Subscription payments are sometimes made in cryptocurrency, but they're more often processed via credit cards and PayPal, which can help the MPA find the businesses and shut them down. The MPA says that in recent months, Russian crime rings have paid patrons to sneak into theaters with camcorders and record films. The footage is then uploaded to the internet and watermarked with links to illegal online casinos owned and operated by the same criminal organizations to encourage viewers to place bets on those gambling platforms. Quote, the people who are stealing our movies and our television shows are operating piracy sites that are not mom-and-pop operations, says Charlie Rifkin, Chief Executive Officer of the MPA, who adds that some of the operators also engage in drug trafficking, prostitution, money laundering, and other crimes. Quote, this is organized crime. Yeah, that would be organized crime. Rifkin, a former U.S. ambassador to France and one-time CEO of the Jim Henson Company, home of the Muppets, joined the MPA in 2017 after the organization failed 5 years earlier to build consensus between Hollywood and Silicon Valley to win passage of legislation in Congress aimed at stopping online piracy. Tech companies such as Google and Yahoo said the move would give the government too much power to shut down sites accused of infringement. In 2017, the association formed the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment, an enforcement task force of about 100 detectives circling the globe and sometimes skirting death threats to help local authorities arrest streaming pirates. The task force is led by a veteran of Interpol and the Marine Corps, where he helped combat drug trafficking. And so what they're describing here is that the studios have their own mercenaries essentially going around trying to stop piracy rings. All right, that's kind of a good idea for a movie. I might want to see that one. Their task force says it helped shrink the number of illegal streaming services in North America to 126 from more than 1,400 in 2018, aided in part by the MPA's support for a 2020 federal law that made large-scale streaming of copyrighted material a felony rather than a misdemeanor. But internationally, piracy increased 39% for films and 9% for TV shows in 2022, led by demand for movies such as Paramount's Top Gun: Maverick and series including HBO's House of the Dragon. The reach of illegal streaming services is booming, with a record 215 visits to the illicit sites in 2022. And measures by legitimate streaming operators to shore up earnings, for instance, cracking down on password sharing, will further increase visits to illicit platforms. The main red flag that a site is operating illegally is pricing, which starts at about $5 per month. Another clue is that a site is anonymously registered, obscuring ties to its owner. To fight the pirates, the MPA's investigators tracked down a platform's operators and put them on notice with a cease and desist order. If they don't comply, the MPA begins what they call their disruption phase, which seeks to disable their payment and hosting platforms, social media accounts, and domain names. If the perpetrators still won't comply, The MPA escalates the case to civil or criminal status and works with Europol, Interpol, and national police forces dedicated to intellectual property theft and cybercrime. It's taken as little as 2 weeks to dismantle the site's operations in Egypt and as long as 4 months in Spain. For now, the MPA will use its group of freelance detectives and mercenaries, whatever it is that they're doing throughout the world, to continue to fight bootleg streamers, even if it sometimes feels like whack-a-mole. In November 2023, they shut down Zorro.to, Guko.to, and Showbox Movies, which together had close to 400 million visits per month. Consulting firm Parks Associates predicts that legitimate U.S. streaming services' cumulative loss from piracy since 2022 will reach $113 billion in the next 2 years. Quote, while there is some optimism that emerging countermeasures and best practices may see piracy begin to plateau by 2027, there is no consensus among stakeholders as to when it may begin to decline. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.